What's up? How you doing? Here we are. Beautiful day today. A bit warm, but dry. Water with ice. Nice and cold, refreshing. I can't tell you what's in the water, except H2O. I know that much. But it tastes really good, even though I have a filter that long that it goes through, and I just put a new one in yesterday. So we have a brand new filter. I'm on top of that. I'm on top of the filter, but the water still tastes great. You know, like it has the minerals are not being removed for some reason, and it has a very, very appealing flavor. You know, when I'm not even thirsty, I can go for more. That's how good the water is. I felt like, for a second, I felt like the ground shook a little bit. So, I don't know what that was. Maybe the chair a little wobbly. But sometimes I get that sensation, and then you feel the real thing kick in. So, I'm going to do liver and onions today. I did it, I don't know, a couple of weeks back. I think it's time to do it again. It's a good source of nutrition, the liver. It's densely packed with, you name it, it's inside. It's in there, including protein and a bunch of other things too. But you know, we don't, in this country at least, we don't eat that much liver anymore. I don't know what they do with the rest of it. They toss it out. There was a time though when liver was pretty popular. So, have the onions here. 3 good sized onions. Today I picked the sweet white onions. I usually get the red ones, but we'll go a little bit different this time. Just get that. That's a good size onion. Onion makes the meal. I feel sorry for people that do not appreciate the flavor of onion due to genetic predispositions. Onions make everything delicious. Matter of fact, if it wasn't for the lasting smell on you, you would have onions more frequently in certain times. But there's a thing where you can take an onion and peel it, get all the nice, layers out, and then add a little bit of salt, and then get a nice piece of, French bread, and put a slice of onion and a little bit of bread and a slice of onion, and just keep repeating it. It's so good. That's if you're living in the Great Depression, but it's good anyway. It's good anyway. But then, the flavor, the sulfur breathing in and out, everybody can smell it. Not as bad as garlic, but this water's so good. So good. All right. So we have a knife made in Germany. Zwilling, very sharp. There's a couple of times where I was like, yeah, this is very sharp, and I ended up going it like my thumb. What was it, like 3 years ago? I bought a brand new knife, and I was messing around with it, and kind of like my thumb got in the way, and the knife opened up a gash in the front, deep. A lesser man would have gotten stitches, but I said, I don't need to waste time at the what's that place called? The emergency room. So I let it heal on its own. Can't even, you could see a line, but not that bad. Took a while. It's a good thing I'm righty, otherwise I'd have issues. But yeah, they always say, be careful of a dull knife. I think a sharp knife is a little more dangerous. Dull knife, yeah, okay, it can bounce. You're cutting it, bounce off. But I've had dull knives, they bounced off and they didn't do anything to me. And sharp knives, just a little bit, they grab you and they go right through. I did that one time wearing my Wells Maine shirt, and I was in Wells, Maine. I must have been probably like 6 years old, around there, 5, 6 years old. And I was in the kitchen. Now, in my kitchen, we didn't have knives like that. We had one that was dull. My father would cut bread with it, but serrated. We had a lot of those. And I always thought that only those would cut. I thought the other ones like this were like butter knives. They wouldn't, cut. So one day I'm in Maine, and in the drawer, there's all these knives that kind of look like this. And I say, yeah, it doesn't cut. And I don't know how the knife slipped off, it slipped off. And it cut me on the index finger on the edge. And it went right through. And I said, oh, I could still see, so many years have passed, at least 100. But I still see the line where the knife sank into my left finger. It's amazing all these years and it's still there. I'm glad I remember how it happened. Otherwise, I would be looking at that and blaming my mother for a birth defect or a birth defect. But no, that happened in Wells, Maine. Taught me a lesson. Just because a knife has a straight edge doesn't mean it doesn't cut. Matter of fact, that cuts even more. But I thought it was like a handsaw. You needed the teeth in order for it to cut. And I would see, these and I would say, yeah, that doesn't do much cutting, but it does. So we're going to remove the ends. I'm going to cut them a little bit thick. I don't want them to burn. Get that onion smell now. I don't know. There's a book. It's called. I guess it's kind of like the idea is like who's the first person to ever eat the first onion or the first tomato or whatever. I was gonna get it yesterday. I was looking at it. I go, I'm curious, but then I'm looking at it. And it had, who ate the first. I don't know, walnut or whatever, right? And it talks about thousands and thousands and thousands of years back. Who would know that? So I go, they're making it up. They don't know. How would you know that? Some guy had a diary or a journal. Wrote it in there. I went to a tree. My hands got stained, but inside was a very tasty treat. I named it Walnut. But yeah, I love onions for cooking. Makes a good base. Beef stew, lentils, bean soup, everything tastes better with onions. And I've said it before, I've compared it to the Beatles. If the Beatles had a tuba player, the tuba being analogous to an onion, they would have been better. Imagine a nice tuba player, I don't know, right there, backing up Paul McCartney on bass. Matter of fact, if you have a tuba, you really don't need Paul McCartney playing bass. You could just sing. Oh. I like the sound of that name, McCartney, at the end. Has a McCartney. I had a teacher, McCarthy, and I always used to think, because I knew McCartney first, I go, I don't know, her name would have sounded better if she was Mrs. McCartney. I want to go to visit England, right? Really want to go and visit Ireland. Ever since I saw the movie The Commitments, the atmosphere in that movie, I belong in that atmosphere, people like that, the music, hanging out in places like that are in the movie. I don't know, something about it, I'd love to visit. I have never been there, but I would love to go to Ireland. England is another place, the suburbs, Dexy's Midnight Runners, right? Kevin Rowland. I'd like to go and hang around with him a little bit. Maybe I get some outfit like his, pink, right? Big bell bottoms on the bottom of my calves, and hang around with him. Love that song, Dexy's Midnight Runners. Had a girl in my class, Eileen. Come on, Eileen is what I'm talking about, the song. And when that song came out, that's when I met her. She was, you know, fun to be around. Very interesting person, smart, easy to get along with. And yeah, when I hear that song now, I remember Eileen. One time I contacted her, like back about 18, 19 years ago. And back then I was like, wow, I haven't spoken to her in a long time. So I shot out an email to her. I found her on the internet. And I said, hey, remember me? And she goes, of course, I remember you. I sat second row, second seat. And she sat third row, first seat. So we were close. And then I had a girl behind me. Her name was Gina. And behind her, Amy Morgan. Right? And we were really, you know, it was like a little unit there. Very close friends. All right, so I'll chop these up. But anyway, as I was saying, I want to visit those kind of places. I just like the style, the way it feels. You know, I like to walk around in those neighborhoods. You know, the green grass everywhere, the accent makes you feel clean inside and outside. I like to go to Ireland, then get on a big plane and go to England for a little bit. Scotland would be cool. Visit Scotland, Wales. You know, a couple of weeks time. All right. How do I want to? I just do it like this. I don't want them too thin. They burn. But I've always been a fan of that style. And then I saw the movie The Commitments, and I said, that's the style I'm into. You know, hanging out, listening to music at the coffee shops. I'm not a booze bag, so I could go to a pub, but I wouldn't be there that long. I mean, I could stay, you know, I'd sip slowly. You know, I'd be like Brian Dennehy and Richard Crenna, Trotman, and what's his name there? Teasel. Remember that scene in First Blood? Trotman is already there, and Teasel shows up. It's like a bar or something. One of those I don't even know what it was. It was like a restaurant bar, and there's a scene in there, and Trotman is having a little drinky poo. I don't know what that is, scotch. And then Teasel sits down with him and has something, right? What do you have, gin? I don't know, he had something. And, you know, I would sip it slowly and talk. Be able to find my way home, you know. But yeah, one of these days, go to Ireland. I'd like to see Iceland too. Iceland is, you know, very volcanic, very volcano active. It's good to travel. It's good to miss your home a little bit, you know. Come back and be a little bit, you know, nostalgic about where you live. Makes you appreciate what you have. So I think I need a bigger bowl because I have one more onion left. It's all right. We'll balance it on top. But if you haven't seen The Commitments, the movie, I highly recommend it. You will appreciate it if you're like me. If you're not like me, you may say, what's going on here? But yeah, it's, you know, the chubby guy, the singer, like that style, very soulful. All right, you stay there. And then I saw Belfast, the movie. I saw it on the airplane. You know, there was a time where I was always thinking, what would happen if you're on an airplane? Airplane's going at about 550 miles an hour. And I was a kid back then, so I could do this. Wouldn't look ridiculous. As an adult, you would look like you're off a little bit. But I said, what happens if, so there's the plane, it's flying at 550, and you're inside the plane. Now, I know it's enclosed, but I said, what would, and now I know, I don't even know why I asked the question in the first place, it's so obvious, but I thought, you're on the plane in the aisle, and then you jump, you leave contact with the plane, and the plane keeps going. Would you end up in the back? You know, like you jump up, but you wouldn't. And then I was thinking, because I tried it, and you don't, you keep going, plus you're going at that speed anyway, so you just tend to keep going. But I thought maybe as you jump, gravity would slow you down a little bit, like say maybe a half a mile an hour. So let's say the plane is doing 550, you would be doing 549 and a half. Would you, as you're in the air, end up, you know, moving back a few yards as the plane keeps going underneath you? And I tried it. So one day we were on a plane. I think this was I was like going to Florida or something, and I did the jump, and I landed where I jumped from, and then I did a higher jump. Now, if I did a higher jump, I'd hit the ceiling, and I landed same spot. And then I said, what about if there was no wind? Because then, you know, the wind would influence you, blow your head off the plane. But let's say there was no wind, and you were doing 550 and no wind in a vacuum. If you jumped up, would it move if there were no walls on the plane? In other words, it was a flat surface like this. Like suppose it was a train, you know, a cargo, like one of those flat beds, and the plane was traveling at 80 miles an hour, and you were standing and you jumped. Would the train continue moving and you would land further back? I think that's possible, but you are traveling at the same speed as the train is, so you would, the momentum as you jump up, your body is still going at 90 or 60 or whatever. So you would land pretty much there, but I think there would be a little bit of a difference. Anyway, I tried with a plane. They probably said, what's that kid jumping around like that for? You know, I felt like my weight coming back down the plane would, you know, you'd feel like a drop in altitude a little bit, but that didn't happen. Anyway, I'm going to set up my pan here to do the onions, and I'll be back in a flash. Alright, I am back. I have a nice pan here, the kind that Gordon Ramsay recommends. See how that works. So usually I use olive oil. Today I'm going to use avocado oil. High temperature, 100% pure avocado oil, naturally refined, natural taste, 500 Fahrenheit smoke point. Now we're not going to get that. That's it. Beautiful day though. It's clear sky, not even a little bit of a cloud. It's basically blue as can be. Hi, my daughter.
Onions?
That's
a lot.
Yeah. Put that over there.
You're very nonchalant.
There's a lot of onions in here. Take a few minutes, and now they're nice and moist. A lot of moisture in there, but soon enough they will be flattening out, wrinkling up like a human after 60 years on this planet. So yeah, that's my thing. Visit Ireland. I don't know how the food is there. I don't know what kind of Irish stew. I don't know what Irish people eat. Potatoes. British people, same thing. I'm not familiar with the cooking of the British or the Irish. And ish at the end makes it sound like they're a little bit Irish. Ira. You know, if you said Italian-ish, that would mean somebody is like 10% Italian. Or if you said, you know, even Polish sounds like that. A little bit Polish. Pol. Russian-ish. Delicious. Delicious. The smell's delicious. I haven't tasted it yet. Well, we let it sit for a little bit. Yeah, but yeah. Fun time. I wish the planes were a little bit faster. I get bored. You know, flying from here to Ireland would be a long trip. And then what else is good to see? I said Iceland. Any, you know, Sweden, Switzerland, the Swiss Alps, Italian Alps. Been to Germany as a, you know, stopover. I didn't really see the place, but their air conditioning was low at the airport. I did not like that. Summertime, you don't put it up. Or put it down, whatever. AC at the airport should be mid-60s, right? Even lower. I had my AC, you know, at the AC at the place I was staying. I had it at 60, 60. And then I would go outside, it would feel very humid. Not here, I wasn't here, some other place. Nice. I feel like a street vendor. You know that smell? You go by one of those places that they're making sausages with onions and you smell this aroma. Very tempting to buy something from those kind of places. And then I'm thinking, where'd they have the sausages all day? In the attic, in the basement, outside of a fridge, who knows where, you know, you don't know. But, you know, you don't know restaurants either, you know, they could have had them in some weird place. We trust in places we shouldn't trust. But we kind of close our minds to it. You know, imagine you go to a restaurant and some sick guy puts a little fentanyl in the sauce. And then you go and you eat that. And you're wondering why things are looking funny to you. It's because some guy working at the fast food place put fentanyl in the sauce. So I saw two hawks fly by a little while ago, and probably like male and female chasing each other, and they were flirting back and forth. But we have a lot of crows in this neighborhood. I remember when I was a kid, my mother would saute onions, and it looked like a lot at the beginning, but she never put enough where you would sit at the table and just eat a ton of them, and then be okay. I don't need any more of those onions. I'm full. I always wanted more onions. Felt like she should have put like 4 or 5 of those and, cooked them, sauteed them. Ugh. Nothing beats eating a meal in the mountain, on the mountain, not inside, on the mountain, at the beach, or in the desert. You go there, sometimes I go out in the desert and I cook, and the food tastes about 3 times better than when you're home. It's just the atmosphere. At the beach too, as long as you don't get sand on your food. But yeah, it's really nice, really nice. Feels like summer. In the old days, you're in school, young, 4th, 5th grade, and there's a girl in your class, you have a crush on her. I can't find a feeling that compares to that. Makes you want to be in school. And then you grow up, and you bump into that same girl years later, and even though you haven't felt that way since that time, all of a sudden you feel that way again. You're like, that's that girl. 5th grade, I had a crush on her. Now she's all grown up, has a cane. You gotta keep moving it around. You don't want to cook only a few at the bottom, burn them. You can take a break every once in a while. I have not added onions, the salt yet. I'm going to do it in a moment. Beautiful though. I had a weird dream last night. Every once in a while I have a dream that is original to me. So it's like a field, and I guess I'm there for a reason. And the reason is I'm going to run into relatives that I have not seen in like 30, 40 years, right? And so one by one they're popping up. And I'm looking at them, and they look ridiculous. They, first of all, they look like Neanderthals. They look like cavemen, all of them, male and female. They have these thick features, big, eyebrows, bushy hair. They're very tall. All of them look like 7 feet. And they all look totally different. And I'm like, okay, I understand aging, but How come nobody resembles who they used to look like? It's a very weird dream. So, I left the salt inside. Alright, well, probably going to edit a little bit out of here. I don't want to, constantly cooking the onions. And so, I'll be back when the day is new. No, I'll be back when the onions are sauteed. But to you, it will feel Instamatic. It's shrinking. Alright, I'll be back in a flash. Alright, I am back. The onions are done. I put a little salt in there, so we're good to go. Can't beat onions, they're delicious. I think I'm gonna get that book, The First to Try. Alright, now I'm going to go grab the liver. I will be back in a flash. Alright, I'm back. Got the pan. I put the onions inside. The onions are inside a bowl with a little bit of tin foil on top so they remain warm. Doesn't really matter. And then I have the liver here, which I've already floured up. I don't want to break a dish. And you never know, you might. When I was a kid one time, my parents, they went somewhere, they left me, they always, it was not a big issue being left alone at home for me. And so I was doing, whatever in the kitchen, and that particular time, I grabbed a big thing of sugar, like one of those big, things of sugar, and fell out of my hands and it hit the floor and sugar went all over the place in the kitchen. And I was like, oh man, first thing I did is I got the broom. I got all as much as I could, but I had to move tables. And you gotta keep in mind, I'm like, I was, I don't know, who knows, 13, something like that. And my parents had gone, and I swept and swept, and every time I would sweep I would get more granules. I was like, this is not ending. So I did that. Once I got most of them, I started mopping, and I mopped and I mopped. Actually, no, not mopping. My mother didn't believe in owning a mop. She would use like one of my old t-shirts that she deemed, too far gone for wearing, and she would use that as a rag. So anyway, I grabbed, not that one, I just grabbed another shirt of mine because I didn't want to grab that disgusting thing. And I started cleaning the floor and it was still sticky. I must have cleaned the floor with that rag over and over and over, like probably like 15 times. And just as I finished, I noticed the station wagon rolling into the driveway, and they got home. But my mother never ever said, you know, I had a big thing of sugar in this cabinet. Anybody know what happened to that? Of course, they wouldn't say, does anybody know what happened to it? They would immediately, you know, say, what'd you do with that sugar that was up there? So in my neighborhood, if something went wrong, my father and my, you know, neighbors, they would always come asking me, did you do that? And I'd say, no, I didn't do that. What do you mean? What am I, the mayor here or something, involved in everything? But yeah, always they would always ask me if I did something. You know, it could have been a broken pipe. You know, big guys are in the neighborhood. My parents, my mother wouldn't ask. My father was like, did you do that? So the pipe? I go, no, I did not. But anyway, I cleaned it, and I did such a good job that nobody noticed. So, I don't want to overcook the liver. It becomes rubbery. So, you know, and I don't want to eat it raw either like Boss Hogg. So we'll flip it around every so often. Especially if a piece is a little bit thick. This is veal, so, I mean veal liver. And so we flip it over, and then if it needs more, I will allow it to cook a little bit more. And like I said, liver is densely packed with nutrition, right? It's one of those meats that has a lot of stuff. I think there was a story one time, vitamin A is toxic in high levels, and then somebody went out to the Arctic Circle, and there was seals or something, and that was the only thing they could eat was the liver, and they ended up dying from vitamin A toxicity. I don't know if that's a true story. Some of them are like a bad angle. I should have gotten a protractor and well, we'll let them cook. And I just put salt, a little bit of garlic powder, and a lemon. Takes time, everything takes time. Except if you're traveling at the speed of light, then there's no time taken. see like a little baby tornado forming there with the steam, hot and cold air combining, causing a whirlpool effect. I go to the desert sometimes and you see a dust devil form. One time I was videotaping, or not videotaping, but I don't even want to say filming, because I'm not doing that either. And all of a sudden I felt a gust of wind and one of those dust devils, whatever they call them there, went through me, and I saw it on the other side keep going. So I'm gonna bring these inside. Alright, I am back. I put the first batch inside. I have a little bit more to go here. Smells great. I put salt on there, a little bit of garlic, and a little bit. And haven't put the lemon yet. I'm gonna do it in a few minutes, so. And the other thing I did is I threw out the previous avocado oil. I cleaned the pan, rinsed it, dried it, and then I added a new avocado oil portion, right? The crows are back. You think it's simple, but it still takes time. Still takes time. The only thing that is quick is like toast. I hear you. Crows are very smart. It used to be liver was cheap. Not anymore. I mean, it's less than steak, but... And you think it would be more. You only have one liver, right? So if you want a really good steak, it's like $40, $42. Liver is like half that. But liver used to be $8.99 for a pound. Birds have a fun time. They just fly around, bird's eye view all the time. When I was a kid, there was an episode on Sesame Street. Some people remember it, some don't, but Bert and Ernie, they were in the neighborhood there, near where, I think it was near where Maria, what was her name, Sonia, where she lived, and they had these two chairs, and they said, we're going to use our imagination and pretend we're flying. So they had the green screen thing going, I guess, and they sat in the two chairs, and they started lifting up and flying all around. I always wanted to have something that would do that, even, little airplanes. So much fun. But, I didn't want a runway. Wanted to lift up like a helicopter. Sometimes I get up early, like really early, come out here, and crows constantly like yapping. And I got extra. Usually I get a half a pound. Today I got a pound and a half. In case somebody else wants to eat. I say that's very low, the chances. They hear liver and they run. I need to get another plate. I'll be back in a flash. Alright, I am back. Washed my hands. New plate. And this is done. Oh, little pieces are. Need a bigger table. So this is it for now, and I'm going to come back and try it in a couple of minutes or so. Alright, I am back. Everything is done. So, clean the table, everything, you know, is clean. Brand new plates. Yeah, right there. Liver and onions. Very basic. Salt. Pepper. We're gonna leave it a few minutes.
Okay.
You wanna try some liver?
No.
Okay.
That sucks up all the toxins. It has like a sweet kind of taste, but it's just, I don't like it.
Delicious.
What does it taste like?
Hmm?
What does it taste like?
Like steak. You want some?
No.
Okay.
I'll try it in the future when I have an appetite for that.
Well,
Is Yaya coming? Is Yaya coming?
well,
I want her to sit in the front.
don't worry.
Well, no, because I don't like putting her in the back. I mean, it looks better than that other time you made it.
What?
It's actually, well, when you made me try it and then I started complaining because it didn't taste good. This one looks better. This one actually looks like food.
It's veal liver.
I'm not saying that. Ooh, like. I'm not saying that because it's a baby. Everything's fine. It's just, it's the bad part.
Give me a napkin. Get me.
Fine.
Tie your shoelaces.
They aren't. They're
So very, very delicious.
How much did you make? Because I see 2 plates filled with them. Should I try one?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll
But
try.
the little piece, thin ones, they cook better. Anyway, I'm gonna finish up here, and then I gotta bring my daughter somewhere. Wants to buy something, so. That's it for now. Ciao.